and along with Kai Zabatsky. And Island Writers Network has done an open mic for a long time. We are a 25-year-old organization, just recently, yay. Just celebrated our 25th year. And we support writers. In fact, our tagline is "We Champion Writers." We have a monthly meeting where we have learning opportunities. We have critique opportunities where I get most of my goodies out of this organization because they're really talented people that offer great critique. And then we have open mic, and in addition, every other year or so, we put together an anthology that includes works from members that are, we have some really talented people that participate. So I just wanted you to know a little bit about the Island Writers Network, because the Island Writers Network is not only partnering with TIOs, but also with the town of Hilton Head as they do their Crescendo program each year. And so tonight is a partnership between the Island Writers Network and Crescendo. And to tell you about Crescendo, we have Natalie Harvey, who is the Director of Cultural Affairs for the town of Hilton Head Island. And welcome, Natalie.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, excuse me, sorry, trying not to get tangled up here. Thank you so much for the opportunity to have the mic for a minute. We really appreciate TIOs and their partnership with the Office of Cultural Affairs and our Arts Council. We hosted our opening party right here across the street in the park on the 15th, and we had delicious treats from TIOs. So thank you always, Sally, for your support. I do have a few extra programs if you've not received this. This is our 8th year for Crescendo, and it started off as a way to highlight our arts and cultural communities kickoff to the season, right? We've had a busy summer. A lot of our theater and production seasons start in September and October. It was a great opportunity for us to showcase the depth and the breadth and the talent of our arts and cultural organizations. So I work for the town of Hilton Head Island. The Office of Cultural Affairs puts this program together. With this year, I counted over 30 organizations that helped us put this calendar together, and there are over 100 different events. So thank you to the Island Writers Network, to Miho, to Robin, for putting the poetry series together. This is our 3rd year, right, of the poetry series. So thank you for spearheading that. If you have not visited the Poetry Trail just yet, there's a great opportunity on November the 16th. We're going to meet here at the pavilion at, I think, 10 a.m. and we are going to walk to some of the public art sculptures that are paired with our local poets and poetry. So if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to ask me. If you do not receive an email from me and would like to, if you visit culturehhi.org, you can sign up to receive the newsletter. I promise it's not too often that I send out those, mostly twice a month, to give you updates on what's happening in the community. During Crescendo, it's about a weekly thing. So our Lantern Parade finishes Crescendo this year on November 23rd. Save the date. If you do not want to be stuck in traffic, which I know was a problem last year for some of you, I'm trying to work through some of those problems, but one of the good things I have to share with you is if you prefer to sit at home, we're going to stream it on the county channel this year, so you can watch it from home, or if you're out of town already for the Thanksgiving holiday. So that the parade starts from Alder Beach, and we'll travel down the beach, exiting at Coligny, and we will go to Low Country Celebration Park. If you've not seen it, if you visit Culture HHI, you can find a video from last year. It's really a magical evening. So we should hope to see a lot of you there. So please enjoy your dinners and our wonderful, talented writers here this evening. And thanks for the opportunity.
Good evening. Hi. My name is Miho Kines, and I have Richard Garcia here with me, friend of mine. We write together. Let me introduce him formally. Okay. Poet and writer Richard Garcia was born in San Francisco and started writing in his teenage years. Since then, he has authored various books of poetry. I think you probably 7 books of poetry.
Maybe, yeah.
We might need to adjust the microphone. Praised by Octavio Paz, if you know him. He's a Nobel Prize winner. The praised by Nobel Prize winner Octavio Paz for his emotion, verbal economy, and tone. The words react, the images are seen. The Garcia's recent work with prose poems has also received accolades. He's very much known for his prose poems, and we are going to talk about what the prose poem is.
Orange lights.
So, Garcia is also the author of My Aunt Otilia's Spirits, Los Espiritas de mi Tía Otilia, bilingual children's book, and has conducted poetry and art workshops while serving as poet in residence at the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles from 1991 through 2002. He also has been poet in residence at the Long Beach Museum of Art and Gibbs Museum of Art. That's in Charleston. Yes?
Yeah.
The recipient of many prizes and awards, including a fellowship from the National Endowment of Arts, Cohen Award for Prose, and Pushcart Prize. And Georgetown Review Poetry Prize. Garcia's poems have also appeared in Crazy Horse, Best American Poetry, and various anthologies. And he was a former instructor at the College of Charleston. Garcia has also taught creative writing in the Antioch University, Los Angeles MFA program. So that's all about him.
I'm impressed.
So yeah, I'm Miho. I'm a poet. I live here in Hilton Head. Okay. So actually, I have known of Richard for some time. I heard about him from really good poets based in Charleston, like Francis Pierce, who was the former president of Poetry Society of South Carolina. And also last year, if you were here, Yvette Murray, I heard about him from her too. And the highly coveted workshop, it's called a Long Table. He's been running it in Charleston. Could you tell us a little bit about the workshop? Because we're all interested in
Well, I
workshop.
started the long table. It's just a group that meets at my house. It's not like 70 members or anything. It's like, at the top, we have 10 people there, but we have about 20 members. And it's a group that comes, and a lot of really good poets have been in it. A lot of them went on to publish books, but we still meet. I used to joke that, we'll be meeting someday in the retirement home, but I live in a retirement home now. So, they've been going quite a while. And, it's a very good group, very good.
Yes. But
Susan Myers, the late Susan Myers was in it.
yeah, she's a
And,
great poet. Yes.
Almost all the poets that have got published books.
Right. Yes. But Gail, you'd say he's a very demanding leader, right? Okay.
Well, Gail is in it, and she's new to poetry, and she just started. And she got into 2 top magazines.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We're gonna charge her more.
Okay. So, and then I finally met Richard, actually March this year in Charleston. He kindly, and Gail too, came to Poetry Society's reading. I was an opening poet, and we started talking. Talking meaning basically exchanging emails. And our emails were not kind of normal emails. It was kind of, we're gonna read a sample of our first exchange of emails. Okay, so he gave me this email.
This one? This was an email?
Yes.
Oh. Well, I guess she had told me that she never dreams. So I thought I'd give her some advice. You tell me you never dream, just blackness, total blankness. I would tell you to try pistachio ice cream in the evening. I would phone you in the morning just as you wake. I would ask you one question as you are splashing cold water over your face. What are you thinking about? Follow your thoughts. They may lead you to an estuary that trickles into the ocean. But we, here in my current abode, are not allowed to use phones or other contraband. As you may have guessed, I tell stories. Let me cast my homemade metaphor dice. Dreams are the midwife of impossible beauty. If I should die before I wake, will my dreams wander on without me?
So, if you receive an email like that, what would you do? This is what I did. I always wake up a minute before the alarm. The sun is about to rise in my multiple realities. I pick a reality like a blouse in the closet. Every blouse has an extra button sewed into the inseam, just in case, but only for one mistake. Will you go find another button with me? No need for a credit card. Your story will do. It is best not to leave anything on the table. I might just as well have a pistachio ice cream. 2 scoops, please. So, as I mentioned, he's really nationally known as with his prose poetry. So what I like to ask him is perhaps teach us about, what the prose poetry is, maybe what the prose poetry is for you, and probably read some of your pieces from your book.
Oh. Okay, the prose poem started about 150 years ago in France. And at that time, there was a big difference between poetry and prose. Not so much now. There isn't that much difference sometimes. And so they wanted to write in prose, they wanted to write poetry in prose. So it's a combination of the two. So it's written in a paragraph, and in modern convention, it's written in a paragraph that has all 4 margins. It's more like in a box. And so in place of rhyme, for instance, when it was first invented, they had rhyme and they had meter. So in place of rhyme and meter, the prose poem actually has a kind of musical rhythm to it. And in place of rhyme, it actually has a lot of repetition. And it's a little bit related to magical realism, because there's a lot of magical realism in the prose poem. So if you got your papers out, you can start your poem now. Oh, I was going to read a couple of prose poems. So this is a prose poem, and it's based on a movie. There's a prize, if you could guess the movie. And this is called, it's the person speaking. And it's a poem from my book Porridge, which is all prose poems. And it's called Thinkology. I think crows are smart. Like Hector, he's a crow. He sits on my shoulder and whispers into my ear. The sum of the square root of any 2 sides of an isosceles triangle is equal to the square root of the remaining side. I think I could scatter myself all around you. I think I could jump into the wind for you. Do you think if I had half a brain, I would stay away from you? You say. Honey, I am fire, and you are straw. Stay away from me. But hey, I have a brain. I do. I even have a degree in thinkologgy. And I say, baby, I am made of straw. And straw was made to burn.
It's not only musical, but I realized that he's really funny. He's really funny. It's just his sense of humor. It's amazing. It shows up in just about every poem he writes. Even if you're writing about something really devastating or sad, there's something funny in it. It's kind of great. Shall we?
I'll read one more. And well, in the last one I read, the part about the esophagus triangle, that's what the scarecrow says when he realizes he has a brain. Yeah. And this is another thing that, since because it's a lot of magical realism, the images of childhood and fairy tales appears in a lot of prose poems. So this is based on a fairy tale. It's called The Juniper Tree. My two brothers are sparrows in the juniper tree. My two sisters are branches of the juniper tree. Go and find my head, one brother says to me. Go and find my body, says the other. My two sisters remain silent, or maybe the leaves of the tree are speaking too loud to the wind. When the wind pauses, I hear one sister say, go and find my birthday cake, my birthday cupcake, the one with the single candle that mother gave to me. Go and find my pearl earring, the other sister says, the one I left under a pillow. Now the leaves of the juniper tree are opening and closing. I only hear the juniper tree. The juniper tree is amused at something the wind says. The wind, that world traveler, so suave, so blasé.
Read some more.
Another one?
I
Okay.
think I enjoy it very much.
Okay.
Please.
Well, this one has a nice title. It's called Escaped Babies. I don't know where I got that. Well, actually, I get a lot of my imagery from my poems from dreams. I don't know if I got escaped babies from a dream, though. And sometimes I'm lucky. The dream is so vivid that I just wake up and write it down, and it's a prose poem or a poem. Escaped babies. Alarmed by a lullaby he hears over and over about a falling cradle, a baby crawls away from a hospital nursery. He finds a cardboard box in an alley and lives in it. Soon he is joined by other escaped babies. They will be coming for us, the first escaped baby says. And it is true. Grown-ups are looking for them. Nurses, orderlies, school teachers, truant officers, and policemen are looking for them. Soon there are more escaped babies everywhere, hanging on to the rear platforms of streetcars, throwing rocks at the Junior Museum, stealing milk bottles from the front stoops, climbing trees and telephone poles. They beat their chests and crow like roosters from the rooftops. There's a lot of images from childhood, for instance. Who remembers milk bottles on the front porch? Yeah. But if you read this to younger people, they wouldn't know exactly what you're talking about. You know.
So unfortunately, he did not bring the copies of the book. But you can find it online. Called Porridge, Richard Garcia. You can buy them, and I think I enjoyed it from page 1 all the way through. It was really, really enjoyable. So I mean, well, his book's enjoyable, but actually we have been writing together for the past 6 months or so.
If we've had enough work, it looks like 6 years.
Yeah. We've probably written maybe 100 poems.
Well, the file is about 100, that I have it is about 142 pages.
Yes. Right.
And it actually kind of divides into 2 books.
Right, so just been writing and writing. And also what we've been writing together evolved. In the beginning, like we read earlier, it was more like exchanging prose poems. And then there was a rattle? It's the literary journal, and there was a prompt. And that involved using a traditional haiku and write a poem from that. I think that was, you did that exercise too. So we started writing kind of a prose poem and ends with some traditional haiku. So example is this one. I begin mine. Dawn white, beloved she is. No moon, no stars. She doesn't listen because the waves are too loud. The storm approaching, halfway between the shore and the horizon. 2 shrimp birds are unwavering. At this moment, nobody knows where she is. Tasting the thought of walking away from her life. The receding tide. Soon, the patch of the sky will be burned. What else can she burn? She turns around and can't find the chair she left by the dunes. She might have lost her seat in this world. And the haiku is by Buson. For different loves, offering colored threads that were once white.
And yeah, I love the chair on the sand. Yeah. And this might have been, was this an answer to it? Well, here's my answer, I think. Her absence. Without her presence, he had become a statue of limitations, perpetually caught in a gesture of aspiration. He wandered lost among the forbidden adverbs, the exiled butterflies and adjectives. Those adjectives that were allowed flaunted themselves along the boardwalk and promenades of the evening stroll. Bastards he thought someday he would kill them all. He strolled through the street among young men who seemed to have lost their use of language. They had a vocabulary that consisted of 2 words, dude and like. Everything was like something else, and nothing was itself. The young women, however, spoke to each other in a language of wings, feathers, and frequent horizons. Fluently, he thought of her and vowed that if he ever saw her again, he would not tell her about his longing. And the haiku is, how admirable to see lightning and not think life is fleeting.
What's happening is, so we are responding to each other's writing and also responding to haiku. The relationship between prose and haiku is not linear. How do you choose when we were choosing?
I follow when we were doing the first part. You'd write a piece and try to find a haiku. But it was really strange because it became kind of like divination. I had these books of translations of haikus, mostly 2 books, and I would open them up, and there it would be. And that happened to me over and over again. So there's a little bit of divination in the process. But also, like Miho says, we could respond to the prose, or we could respond to the haiku, or something, you know.
So then after a while, we actually submitted for some chapbook contest. Then we realized we did not have a title for prose. We were just writing, there was no title. And then I was gonna put together a table of contents. We had no title. So we decided to put titles on. And then a couple months later, we decided to write our own haiku instead of, because I guess he ran out of haiku from 2 books he owns.
Yeah, I only have 2 books.
Yes. I own a lot of books, but anyway, I got kind of tired of writing something and to get up and go look for haiku was a little bit of a, you know, it was a chore sort of. So it's easier to just write it myself. So the last haiku he read was Basho's. So I kind of continued, kind of ruined his haiku bit, I guess, turning into tanka. So it was how admirable to see lightning and not think life is fleeting. How admirable all day I watch someone else's happy dog run. So that was a little poem, and thank you. Also, I'm learning so much from Richard, and he gave me like a lecture on prose poem. One of the things he told me, and I've been trying since, is begin with something outrageous. And I thought about it, trying to write something outrageous, that's not easy. And so after a while, I came up with a line that says, what is it? The dog fell in love with the oven. He didn't go anywhere.
Well, that's outrageous. Yeah. Yeah, I try to get them to, start out with an absurd proposition. A lot of prose poems actually start with an absurd proposition. So if you go into a second-hand store to buy a raincoat and you write that, what follows is prose. But if you walk into a second-hand store to buy a trout stream, what follows is a prose poem. Because it already puts you in that other realm from the get-go.
Okay, we're gonna skip this one, and would you read your spirals?
Okay. Spirals. A stairway in the sand, it goes up and then it goes down without going anywhere. Step on up. You can climb the stairway. You can pause at the top. Grab the lapels of your jacket and look important. If you know how to tap dance, you can do a rhythmic shuffle up the stairs, or you can climb the stairs as if it were a scaffold with a hangman's rope waiting for you on top. How about coming down the stairway? Never mind about that. Just make it quick. It's not your stairway, and it's not mine. There was a long line of people waiting to climb the stairway, so don't dawdle. He taught the dog to open the electric door of the building with his nose. And Miho added, to begin the next one, learning to sniff bookshelves, ink, and paper, old and new.
As you can tell, we're having really good time. Pretty much every day. Yes, back and forth, back and forth. I look forward to reading his email very much. We're kind of running out of time, so I'm going to read one of mine, and then who is Milton.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to talk about collaboration a little bit?
Collaboration. Ooh. Okay. I have collaborated with a couple of other writers, and sometimes it's a question like, if is written by two people. That's not so unusual. And if you think about it, a lot of writing is collaboration. I mean, we don't actually do this thing alone. We start out learning it, you know. We have a teacher, and then we have writing groups. And then eventually we have maybe one person, maybe a spouse or partner who looks at it. So you're not really alone. And then you submit it, and you have the editors. You know, so really, collaboration is pretty common. But to the extent that we have been doing it is a little different, and the way we have been doing it, because each one is an improvisation. So sometimes when I look at the poems, even though they have very different styles, I'm not sure which of us wrote it. And we're writing it so fast.
Very fast.
Yeah. And also, you know, when she's much busier than I am, and so I don't hear from her for a few days, I start to get kind of cranky.
Well, the fear is that we are so used to writing together. Would I ever be able to write alone? You know, that's something to worry about. And also, we never put our names on it, so it's kind of funny. So if the chapbook comes out, it's going to be by Richard Garcia and McInnes, but you don't know who wrote which one. So it'll be interesting. But I think you can tell, actually. So we're going to read one each. So I'm going to read Who is Milton, and you finish with Sling Songs, because this poem is going to come back to the thing about dreams. So this is the last two pieces. Who is Milton? You remember Milton, right? Yeah.
Is that a joint with Milton's name?
The Salvador Dali Museum in St. Petersburg, Florida, will be closed through Thursday due to the water damage. According to their website, the current exhibition is his floral fantasies, reimagine nature. The lilies grow out of a melting clock. Are roses playing harmonica? The admission to the museum when we went in spring was expensive. It is for the sake of art. An interactive panel took my poem, remixed it with Dali's paintings on file, and presented me with a new art. It's pretty silly. I imagine it's algorithm. Milton Friedman said, the responsibility of business is to maximize revenue and increase return to shareholders and enjoy pretentiously rustic French breakfasts. I bought Ursula K. Le Guin's Always Coming Home at a cafe bookstore with a quirky selections. Barbies in tennis outfits walk down the street. A spacious Airbnb in Tampa with a fancy kitchen didn't have a hairdryer. The owner apologized in a text message that it must have been stolen. Jacaranda blooming, sky blue Jeep turned the corner. A farmer's market offers gourmet dishes from around the world. That's Florida. The street for several blocks was closed for an art fair. That's Florida. John Milton visited them this week. Did we lose a paradise? Water will recede, but mud stays. And this is from Richard. Mud into clay, into dirt, dirt into dust, into ashes.
Sling stones. You know, David and Goliath, you know, and you think, oh, it's just a sling stone. If you've ever seen a sling stone, they're all over the Middle East. You know, if you pick them up off the ground, they're huge. No wonder he killed Goliath. And they're not only huge, but they were actually, they had been worked over, they've been rounded. Sling stones. Sling stones are not pebbles. Some were as large as a baseball. You could still find them in fields of weeds outside the walls of ancient cities. They were made round to sail through the air. I brought 3 home, which confused customs officers. Why are there rocks in your briefcase? They thought that they were some new kind of weapons, perhaps explosives. They held me in a small room and questioned me. What is your real name? Where is Pedro? What is a Mexican doing with a book in Hebrew? They spoke to me in English, in Arabic, and in Spanish. I remained silent. In between questions about the stones, they would ask me, where is Pedro? I knew from the news that he was a drug lord who had just escaped from an American prison. I closed my eyes and went back to Jerusalem. I was outside the walls of the old city, walking in the grass. I heard beautiful music, a piano that sounded like European classical music, or Spanish, or Arabic, or maybe Moroccan. Where were you born? What is your mother's middle name? Were you ever in Mexico? Open your eyes. I thought about the Egyptians, how they thought our pets would be present when our souls are judged. Yesterday she said, I am ready. At night, she died in her sleep. And this is from Miho. She dreamed of lotus flowers, or was her sleep dreamless?
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Richard, for coming all the way from Paris. I hope you enjoyed it.
I realized what a wonderful thing we're doing.
Well, hopefully we'll have a book.
Yeah. Actually, 2 books.
You meld together imagery and your lives, your souls, your spirit. And what's beautiful about it is that then you pass it on to us. And I think that's the gift. And so we thank you. We thank you for coming and sharing. Thank you. The next part of our program is going to be our musical interlude. And we have a wonderful woman, Vicky Pasquale, coming up here to sing for us. And when I talked to her when she came in, she said she hadn't really planned something yet. And Denny said, you know, we're jammers. She's gonna rock this. Our next part of the evening is the IWN portion. And we are going to have our IWN poets and prose writers read for you. And we have quite a list here of fabulous poets and prose writers that are going to get up here and entertain you. And the first one on the list is Eric Johnson, and he is an IWN moderator, and he is a great storyteller and a wonderful poet and a very nice man.
Thank you, Kai. I appreciate that. My poem is about baseball, so I want to thank the New York Yankees for extending the season. If they hadn't done that, this poem would be irrelevant and really quite lame. But since they extended the season, you know, at least one more game. I'm in good shape. The title of this is Me, Pop, and the Say Hey Kid. And I got the inspiration from a poem that Phil Lindsay wrote and posted on Facebook. And so it's a little bit of teamwork, not like Miho and Brother Garcia. It was just me reading something on Facebook and say, oh, you know, that sounds like something I kind of, you know, and I came up with this poem. And, you know, so here it goes. Me, Pop, and the Say Hey Kid. Oh, and it's set in Connie Mack Stadium. And there's only probably one other person here who actually paid to get into Connie Mack Stadium, Barry Dixon. So. Never smelled a fresh cut lawn or felt grass under bare feet. Didn't stalk the field at dawn or shag balls in summer's heat. I played ball on asphalt, first base, a garbage can, second, a chalk-drawn square, third, a Mercury sedan. A brick walls painted box served as catcher and umpire too. The pitcher slung a small pink dot. Beneath my stick, it flew. Once a year, or maybe twice, I got to claim a seat in that old ballpark far away, its grandstand narrow and steep. I walked through those cherished gates, spied that diamond glow. An emerald landscape set the stage where gods would catch and throw. I saw kids carry fielders' mitts to snag balls hit their way. I secreted brothers' old worn gloves so I could make a play. I held tight to Pop's big hand. Up stadium steps we stumbled. Look who's out there warming up, he groaned. I think we're in for trouble. Said some guy named Willie plays for the other team. He just might hit one out our way. Use two hands, eyes on ball, watch the seams. Usher pointed to numbered seats, no place for legs or feet. An iron column blocked my view, knowing Pop, the seats came cheap. Steaming wieners, popcorn, pizza filled the dinner docket, but Mom's peanut butter sandwich oozed jelly in my pocket. She made me bring a jacket, caused my face to hang about, said I'd need the threadbare coat. You'll be cold when the game lets out. My favorite player struck out a game. People hissed and jeered. A man toting a big metal box yelled, "Get your hot dogs here!" Swaddled in wax paper, passed silently by hand. Savory meat, brown mustard, bun, a treat for any fan. I made a play for sympathy, but Pop's face stayed the same. Just eat your sandwich, buddy. His mind firmly on the game. The skies began to darken. Lights cast a silver glow. Newspaper sheets danced circles on the wind-swept field below. The crowd grew loud and nasty, our cathedral dark and glum. When my hero hit a grounder, folks yelled, "Run it out, you bum!" My team closed the contest like the season, cold and dead. Bad pitches, booted grounders, no hits, just outs instead. Not one hit ball had landed in our seats along the line. My dreamt of catch and tasty snacks await another time. None of this could dampen my boyhood day of fun. Pop hugged me tight and with delight said I wish we would have won. Then my own man added words that make me smile this day. I love our guys, but I tell you, son, that Willie Mays can play. Unlike the Yankees fan who leaned over and tried to wrench Betts' arm off to catch a foul ball. That's how things have changed in 60 years. But anyway, our next poet up is, I believe she's going to read poetry. Good. Is L.A. Winkle, who hails from Western New York, Buffalo, right? The birthplace, the cradle of poets, because of, and snow, because of, you know, the 4 Super Bowls, which I lived in Rochester for 7 years and became a Bills fan. You know, thanks. The Phillies and the Bills, this is what I'm stuck with. But L.A. Winkle.
suffering Bills fans. So this first poem is going to be included in the coming anthology, and I'm really excited and honored to be included in it. And it's about an island icon called Ruby Lee's South. Maybe some of you have been there. They bring in some fabulous artists from Savannah, really good blues and jazz. Well, there is no Ruby Lee's South anymore. It's only north on the, it's over on Old Iron Horse Road. But when you walk into the place, they still have the sign from Ruby Lee's South. So I decided to honor it that way. There's this place called Ruby Lee's where black meets white over a moaning saxophone and the sweetest collard greens in the southeast. It's a place where they celebrate a couple barely swaying on the dance floor, been married for 52 years. When it's their turn, the young bop and churn and raucous laughter echoes off the walls. It's a place where you drop in late for a strong Irish coffee and a slice of pecan pie, laced with bourbon, sat down by a bartender named Liz. The owners greet you like siblings. They chat over the neighborhood news. Today is Mahogany's birthday, and everyone wraps her in a warm embrace. You tap your toes, shake your head in affirmation, and shout out a little, "Oh yeah!" And you feel way better here, swinging in this club, than swinging a club in any old country club. The second poem is, it's basically in honor of Halloween. When I was a kid, I hated Halloween. My mother gave us a sheet with 2 holes cut and said, "Go get candy," right? And then my kids will tell you I was like a dismal failure in the mom department at Halloween, so I hated it. But now that I'm retired, I'm like manic. I've been planning this year's Halloween costume since last April. And it includes a homemade boat. Seriously. But anyway, last year, we go to a party, and the couple that invites us to this huge Halloween party are the Lynn Scotts, very dear friends of ours. And this poem is called The Lynn Scotts Halloween Party. There's one other tiny little backstory in this. As Eric said, I was raised on a beef farm in Buffalo, New York. And that just doesn't sound very sexy compared to, like a cattle ranch. Now that sounds sexy. And any of you fans of the Kevin Costner series Yellowstone? Now Beth Dutton, she is a badass. She's a ranch girl, and that's what I always wanted to be. So last year, that's what this is all about. Whoops. For 4 hours, I donned a cocoa brown Stetson hat and a bleach blonde wig and a sequin dress that shared canyon-sized cleavage, and Justin boots that made my bare legs look a mile long. And I became Beth Dutton, and it felt good. It felt bitchin' good. Poker-faced and serious, strutting among the clowns and dolls and scarecrows, drowning bourbon on the rocks. People looked right into my makeup-scarred face and didn't even know who I was. By my side, my Rip, all dark shades and moody and sexy like no one's business. And it felt good. It felt bitchin' good to be Beth Dutton, if only for 4 hours. Anybody wants to know what I look like as Beth, and I'll pass it around. You gotta see this. All right. So I would like to introduce our next reader, Barry Dixon. Barry always makes me smile. He's always got so many cool things to talk about. And I just, I love hearing him read, so very nice.
Very, yay.
I feel the pressure already. So I have a poem here that has something visual going on in it. So let me explain it to you. It's, because you don't have a copy, you're not able to see what's happening here. It's a series of quotes, a stack of single, unrelated quotes. And then in the end, after 7 quotes, there's a short, regular poetry stanza. So that's it, quotes and regular poetry stanza, and it's called Slave Wages. Grandpa, was World War II fought in black and white? I'm for universal health care for nearly everybody. I say if you can't afford the taxes and you can't afford the mortgage, you can't afford to live there. Nothing is more human than inhumanity. She wants to study in Milan next year, but Ginny and I told her, Europe's not what it's trumped up to be. Flexible, huh? She's like one of those balloons, you know, they twist into poodles. The guy's a real genius. He thinks Joan of Arc was Noah's wife. And so it goes, out here on the deck of Starbucks, where every Sunday morning I let the people of Hilton Head, without paying them a penny, write my poetry for me. There's an election coming up. I don't know if you noticed it. It's been in all the papers. And I thought this poem might help you. You can apply it to politics. Might help you make a decision among all those candidates out there. And it's called, Who Do You Trust? Beware the man whose handshake has no spine, who talks to you but looks into the floor, who never tells you what he feels. This man hides the truth. Beware the man whose shake is firm, who looks you in the eye, who shares his feelings openly, for he knows all the tricks. Thank you. Don't forget to vote, everybody. Oh, wait a minute. I almost forgot. It is my honor and privilege, and maybe even blessing, to introduce the next genius, Elizabeth Robin.
Wow. There's a lot of stuff going on up here. This has been fun. I think sometimes with poetry, which is what I'm reading tonight, I'm going to share a poem, we decide that it means a lot more than it is saying on the surface, right? It must be a metaphor for something else, and it's deep and meaningful. Now, I've been noodling this one poem for a while, and because of like anesthesia or something, my brain's just been mush for the last month, so I've had a lot of trouble with this. And Miho Kinnis, among others in my critique group, keep telling me, you just need to like make it just about string. So, I think I figured it out, Miho. And here is a poem, and the name is, This is Just About String. Tied to my finger, I remember. Pull nettle, hemp, willow bark, twist and cross, braid, mark. A man-made tool and infinite uses. It winds the top, unspooling spins, takes the yo-yo, walks the dog, powers the bola, cat's cradle tricks. Puppeteers tell entire stories in one tug, yank a string and out stretches a helpful hand, pulling up the fallen. Talented gift wrappers turn string into sculpture, a butterfly fluttering atop brown butcher paper, wrapped box, renewal. Physicists see string and spin a galaxy, superconnection, symmetry. What holds matter together? Violins, viola, and cello stroke horsehair bows into song. Each note, each instrument adds, swells, and lifts a chamber in strings. Drop a note, diminish the music. Newton's cradle runs on perpetual motion. Balls click, 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 hanging on a string. String us along, silly string. Roll into a ball, thump down the stairs, a slinky in twine. Fibers tire, they fail. Bind, then snap in an instant, spew change into tangled knots. Dry high, twirl knot. Tethers can hold beyond the obligation. Tighten a broken heart. Knit failure back to use. Float the balloon. Fly the kite. String some might call love. Sever. Like an umbilical cord. The loose thread taunts. Pull it. Unravel an entire chapter. Erase the mistake. Rewind the scheme. Cast a new stitch. Start a pattern that holds. She'll tell me later whether I got it or not. So I have the incredible honor of introducing someone I'm not sure has read here before, although he's always here doing all of the videography. I get to introduce someone I actually just sent, because of course I turned him to the dark side and made him write a poem. So I just sent him onto the poetry trail today, by the way. And his name is Raju Pandwani. He has a book that is nonfiction. It's all about leadership and business and being like an entrepreneur and all this go-go stuff. He writes a blog, he does a podcast, he's like an all-around guy, and apparently, not so secretly, a chef. And I could tell you because I got some food delivered to me. His food is really, really good. So get sick and have Raju serve you. So, Raju Pandwani.
Thank you, Robin. And this is going to be a far cry from these very literary, beautiful poets, and I'm not a poet. But thank you anyway, Robin, for putting me on the trail. Well, I guess I am. Chef and all. So, I actually don't write that much about business, but that's what it comes across, because I lived all my life in business. And what I do is I'm actually a life coach, but I talk to people. My audience tends to be corporate executives who want to become entrepreneurs because they're kind of unfulfilled in their purpose, etc. So I write a lot, and every week there is a blog I write, I call it the newsletter. And a few weeks ago I was walking on the island and I was looking at my 20-year journey of an entrepreneur. I've had 5 businesses, and I go, what are all the fears that I've had? And list of 20 things. And I go, you know what? I'm gonna go home and write about this, but I'm gonna make it polarizing, and I'm gonna talk to my audience to start getting them to take action. So this is about that. So the title of this is, Don't Be Brave, Embrace Your Inner Coward. So guess what's coming? Welcome to the ultimate 5-step guide on achieving absolutely nothing in life. If you've ever felt that fear is holding you back, I have great news. You're right. Fear is powerful, it's invincible, and it should dictate every single decision you make in your life. Forget all the conquer your fear nonsense. Embrace the only rational approach. Stay fearful and avoid anything remotely challenging. So step number 1, step number 1. Why take risks? Because they're risky, idiot. Everyone knows that success stories are just anomalies. The real winners are those who never risk anything. Why start a business which might fail? Why change your career when you might not like it? Why leave your comfort zone when it is so comfortable? Remember, mediocrity is the safest place to be. Step 2, avoid the spotlight. It's dangerous. Public speaking, leadership roles, pioneering new ideas, these are all terrible decisions that could expose you to criticism, failure, and success. Stay small, stay hidden, and let fear protect you from the dangers of standing out. Step 3, procrastination, a fear-fueled superpower. Why take action today when you can delay it indefinitely? Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of making the wrong choice. These are all valid reasons to put things off forever. Procrastination is your best friend, my friend, when it comes to ensuring you never reach your full potential. Step 4, overthinking, your fear's secret weapon. Overthinking is the art of creating problems that don't exist and solving them in ways that are completely unnecessary. It is a fantastic way to avoid taking any real action. The more you think, the more reasons you'll find to stay exactly where you are. Congratulations, you've achieved the ultimate state of status quo. Step 5, the joy of regret. It's a life lived in fear. Imagine reaching the end of your life and being able to say, I am so glad I felt fear win every time. No failed businesses, no risks taken, no dreams chased, just a nice cozy blanket of regret. After all, who needs fulfillment and purpose when you have the satisfaction of never having tried? Let me end by saying, accept defeat gracefully. So, there you have it, the ultimate strategy for letting fear run your life. Don't conquer it, coddle it. Let it wrap you in its paralyzing embrace and keep you from all the things that you could have been. Because in the end, who needs growth, achievement, happiness, when you've got good old reliable fear? Thank you. And I have the distinct honor of inviting Kai, who has been our fearless coordinator with Denise of these open mic nights. Kai, sorry that you guys have decided to step down going forward, but I'm sure we are going to build on these strong shoulders.
Thank you.
Arju, that was absolutely fabulous. And thank you for plugging and tattling on us that we're not going to be here anymore. No, I'm teasing. But yeah, that's a good advertising for anybody out there who wants to take over. Denise and I are thrilled to segue you into it easily, comfortably, no fear, and no regrets.
That's the way.
Okay, anyway, I am going to read a poem tonight that is also in the anthology. And I tend to take a lot of what I like writing about from all my trips and living in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's weird out there, people. I don't know. It's been my experience anyway. But anyway, so I am reading a poem that it's about rocks. Okay, I'm a rock hound. I love rocks. And I found out that from an old man in a flea market, he had a table of rocks, and they looked just like something you'd pick up off the ground. And I went over and I said, well, what are these? And he goes, rocks. And I said, okay, but what do they do? And he says, they start fire. And I thought, well, okay, you know, maybe flint or something like that. He said, no, they catch on fire. They're called lightning rocks. At that point, I was very intrigued. So he sold them to me for some money, of course, and I walked off with my rocks. And I had them in the back seat. They rolled under the seat and never thought about them again. And then I found them one day, and I went into a dark closet, like he told me to do, and I started rubbing them together. Magic. This is what this poem is about. Triboluminescence. Lightning rocks rest on my mantle, discovered in sandy arroyos. Primordial relics carry secrets. In a lightless closet, doors shut tight, stones struck with violent friction, over and over the quartz grinds. Air thickens with ominous sulfur. Yellow sparks fracture the air. Embers with no heat. Cold magic fills the blackness. Is it my imagination? Silicone gems glow from inside, offer a glimpse of torment, faces pressed hard against crystal. Lips release anguished cries, no sound escapes, silenced by hard mineral walls. The clash ceases, rocks grow dim, contorted flesh disappears. Open mouths close in defeat. Rocks return to the shelf. Centuries of secrets fade. They wait. Next up is Phil Lindsay. Mr. Phil, where are you? There you are. Phil is so kind to, we have nice men in this group, I'm telling you. Phil puts up with my writing checks. I must be, instead of using techie stuff, I write my paper checks and he takes them. Phil Lindsay.
Thank you. The checks are probably for Sea Change, which is the Island Writers Network latest anthology, and you can still give me a check today for $12 and get one when they come out. So, Richard mentioned that you don't write alone. You write, with a lot of different things, but I do belong to a critique group, and there's several members in here. And one of the things to do is one of the members that never ever reads something without running it by us first, because it might not work. Well, I'm going to read something that I didn't take to the critique group, so I hope that it works. This is called Waiting for Frost. At that place where the roads diverge, I wait for my friend Frost. He's late, and I anticipate he may, this time, be lost. Well, hell, I curse. It could be worse. There's a fence to offer rest, which stands between two fields of green. I wonder which is best. Sit straddling and contemplate. There's nothing else to do but wait. Trying to decide for sure which field of grass is greener. The qualities of both I list. It's part of my demeanor. One is soft, thick, luxuriant, with trees and leaves for shade, purple wildflowers growing. My decision almost made when I turn my head and gaze instead at the other field next, realize to my surprise, the verdant verdict is quite complex. On this field a babbling brook, a pond where I can fish, abundant berry bushes to pick as many as I wish. In quite the quandary I descend, without having made decision, knowing if friend Frost were here, he'd greet me with derision. Say, pick one, choose. You have nothing to lose. There's ridicule in his voice. Close your eyes and flip a coin. You'll be fine with either choice. The next one, and it's also short, I did take this to the critique group, and they helped me quite a bit with this one. So I hope you like this. It's called Breakfast with a Lady. The hotel clerk points with his whole arm, palm up, fingers together, thumbs splayed. Breakfast is just down the stairs. Bon appetit. I follow his arm down the stairs into the cafe. I see her immediately. She's in the corner, alone, stunning. Her hair is tucked under a stylish French bonnet. A brown cape that matches her skirt is clasped over a thin pastel blouse. One arm rests on the chaise lounge, the other hidden behind her. A ring is on the smallest of the long, slender fingers of her right hand. I smile and say hello, but she makes no reaction and stares toward the door. Her eyes dark, her skin smooth, her lips covered with pale pink lipstick. In my mind, I picture her perfect smile. The waiter comes and I order Cafe Americano, orange juice, a croissant. The lady says nothing. I have so many questions. Do you live in Paris? Are you a visitor like me? What have you seen here? Are you waiting for someone? How did you pick this hotel? Have you been to the United States? What is your name? Still, she says nothing and stares. I finish my breakfast, call for the check. Au revoir, I say as I leave the table. I do not turn as I walk up the stairs, yet I know she is staring at me. So I'm going to read a footnote on this. Boris Pastakov, 1894 to 1974, was a Russian painter who moved to Paris in 1930. For a time, he lived at what's now the Lancaster Hotel, and he didn't have enough money to pay rent, so he gave him the paintings, and some of the paintings are still there. So.
Yeah.
Thank you. I sent Jim Riggs, I sent him a request for something I could say about him. And he's next, and all I know is he's from Iowa. And he's been involved with IWN for a long, long time. He's a really good guy.
Goes this high.
Are we going up to the ceiling? No?
Right into it.
Got it, thank you.
Perfect.
I think I'm in the wrong room. Apparently this is a meeting of poets. And I brought a short story to read to you, so. Can I read that? That's so okay. The road not taken, huh? This will take you back to Des Moines and north central Iowa. Carl and Me is the title of my short story. In late winter, I got a call from Chris, the son of my closest cousin, Carl. He shared the bad news that his dad had died. Carl Wolf had been my cousin and my friend for all my life. His face resides in my earliest memories. As a 7-year-olds, we explored wild backyards at his house on Morella Trail in Des Moines. At 10, our families met for a picnic at Pine Lake State Park. Our fathers took us on a hike along the trail from Upper Pine Lake Campground to the Lower Pine Lake Dam. The uphill trip back to the picnic area along the state highway sapped the last of our young energy. We lagged far behind our fathers. Carl decided hitchhiking would be a good idea, and I reluctantly agreed. A car approached. We held out our thumbs. The car accelerated up the hill. Another car neared. I glanced at our dads. They were facing up the hill. We stuck out our thumbs. The car stopped. We didn't know what to do. When the man offered a ride, we were flummoxed. I turned and sprinted up the hill toward our dads, Carl right behind me. Dad asked, "What's going on?" I explained. Carl and I were tired. We put out our thumbs to hitch a ride, and this car stopped. My father took off his hat, his bald head shining in the sun. He bent, putting his head in the window, smiling. "It's okay, thanks. The boys were just being foolish." He and Dwight gave us both barrels. Dad let us know in no uncertain terms about our foolishness. I knew Carl had led me astray, and I had followed like a donkey. Then, quiet, calm Dwight fired sharp words, stripping us of any feeling of intelligence. At home, I never heard any more about the incident, but I feared Carl might not have been so lucky. At 17, we paddled Beaver Creek in my Grumman canoe. The creek was a perfect stream for two teenagers to explore. Clear water flowed over a shallow, sandy bottom. Serious trouble in the little river was hard to find. However, one bend caused a problem. A bare log extended out into the middle of the creek, its base in the right bank, and its long, narrow trunk stretching out about a yard above the water. The goal of the current was to pull us under the overhanging log. I quickly guessed that if we paddled hard enough, we had a chance to skirt the dangerous hazard on the left. "Paddle hard," I screamed. For about 3 strokes, Carl paddled with strong strokes. As he cleared the log, he quit paddling. The canoe slowed. The log smacked me square in the chest, lifting me into a perfect backflip out of the canoe. I came to the surface sputtering, but still wearing my old felt hat and my glasses. I looked up at my cousin. He laughed. Ignoring the temptation to beat him to a pulp, I decided never again depend on Carl. I eventually retired after 35 years of teaching mathematics, and Carl retired from the U.S. Postal Service. After retirement, we saw each other at Drake women's basketball games. Carl and Kathy sat across from us in the Knapp Center. They, in about the 3rd row, we in the cheap seats, high above the arena. At halftime, I often walked across the floor to catch up on his life. He never crossed the court to climb the 16 rows to talk to us. Then in the winter of 2006, Carl surprised me. At halftime of a Drake game, he strolled around the court, climbing the steps to sit in the seat beside me. He told me about a coming surgery, supposed to be minor, but I'm worried. Hope the doctor is telling me the truth. He described the situation. It really didn't sound serious. You'll come through in flying colors, Carl. Just keep me in touch. I will. That was the last time I saw my cousin. A month later, his son was telling me Carl was dead. I'm so sorry, Chris. What happened? Was his surgery a problem? No, the surgery was fine. The doctor told him all was good. The problem was, Dad didn't believe him. He thought something serious was wrong, and he didn't want to be a burden. He shot himself, Jim. He took his rifle and shot himself. And when the first shot didn't kill him, he shot himself again. My mind returned to the Drake basketball game when my cousin Carl walked across the court to say goodbye. We'll take you back probably to poetry with one of the finest poems in our collection of poets. Denise Spencer, a wonderful poet who will probably tell us more about life. Thank you, Denise.
Love your story. I think we have it. I'm still reeling from that one. I was not expecting that, and that was really amazing. Thank you so much for your story. A lot of the poems, pieces tonight have been humorous. The only thing humorous I have is my shirt. And to let you know that it really is more humorous than you might think, my 10th great-grandmother was Rebecca Nurse, who was one of the women executed in Salem as a witch. So, well, you all wouldn't believe that I'm related to a witch. I have 2 ex-husbands that might disagree with you. This piece, as I said, is not humorous, but it is the last piece of the evening. And it is a poem in 2 parts. It is called Imprisoned. 3 squares a day. Showers on Wednesday and Sunday. Scheduled exercise. Books, puzzles, TV. I call it the facility, she quips. Always an amazing cook, she wishes the meals were better. Tired of dinner rolls, pasta too often, veggies overboiled, water in her cup never cold enough. Laundry a challenge. Often her name-tagged clothes don't make it back. The bed feels like a floorboard that tries to bruise her bones. Overhead light in her cell scalds her eyes. View of her beloved birds filtered by filthy windows. Weekend visitors bring favorite treats, delightful gifts wrapped in love. She's grateful for the respite. Nonetheless, favors cannot eradicate the bitter bile that sometimes sputters at the unfair verdict that sent her there. Part 2. Like many innocents, she was at the wrong place, at the wrong time, caught unaware. A simple pivot, balance lost, a fall, hip broken, ambulance ride, surgery. In spite of therapy, focused effort, and fervent faith, she was never to set foot in her apartment again. Instead, her sentence sent her to a country compound encircled by pines. The sign out front conveyed her unwanted situation, skilled nursing facility. She received good care. Staff was attentive and kind, but not the retirement voyage she planned. Her crime, she grew old. Her rap sheet, brittle bones, stroke, dementia. Her punishment, separation from family, friends, belongings, lost independence, wheelchair woes, persistent pain, melancholy, resentment. Her family's torment. They could not reverse this injustice, and she would never understand. Thank you so much, everyone, for your attendance and participation this evening. This is the Island Writers Network's last open mic until the last Wednesday in January. So put your calendar the date of January 29th, when we will return. 2025, sounds like a long way away, but it's not. Reach out to Island Writers Network members if you want to order one of the anthologies, which I have been blessed to have been, along with LA, a poetry editor for the anthology. And I'm going to tell you there's some great stuff in there, there really is. I'm really proud of the effort that everyone has put forth. They're great Christmas presents, I promise. Thank you again for your support. Be safe, have a wonderful holiday season, and we'll see you next year.